So I get asked all the time. I'm a real estate broker and I have my business. I basically represent people in selling property, primarily probate and estates. I get people ask me all the time, how do I build passive income? And in particular, how do I get into the note business? Because when people do a surface review, that's one of the areas that stands up and people say, I'm interested. How do I do this? One of the experts I've met with before in the past, he's also coming to LA to speak at our LA Grand Expo, is Eddie Speed. I'm really excited to share him. Eddie, thank you for spending time with us today.
How are you?
Well, I'm doing so good, it's almost not fair, but I don't want to embarrass myself or anybody else. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing great.
So our goal today, we have on the call today, this is the LA County Real Estate Investors Association. Primarily, these are people looking to get started in real estate or add a second income. They're
Yep.
working for a company, have some money put aside, or need to make some extra cash. And note income to me seems like a great way for people to get started. I've seen people do it. I don't
Yep.
know how. I've seen people who've done it like you and have made great careers out of it. So what are the steps? What would somebody do who's interested and wants to get started? What would the steps be, or what's the process look like, or what's the opportunity?
Well, you and I've talked about this. I've got a presentation that I think will sort of walk people down the path, and I think it'll be easiest for them to like get like what's the deal look like, right?
Yeah.
And how can that work? And so we'll do that today. I train a lot of 9 to 5ers, right? I train a lot of realtors. I train a lot of people that have had rental properties. I train a lot of people that historically would be investing in the normal like syndications and that kind of thing. And I think most people kind of know that market's got some significant instability at the moment.
Go through some changes for sure.
And well, I mean, literally today, I think the two biggest REITs that were lending money on commercial real estate ceased lending activity.
Ooh, oh wow.
Blackstone being one of those. So I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a big secret. Those are people that like normally may not consider notes, and notes probably may have been better for them all along, but they didn't know it. But now there's a lot of people. There's a lot of eyeballs looking at this. So if you see my screen here, profiting from the insider information in the notes business and how to improve your family's financing, and more particularly using less of your time. You know
Nice.
what? You know what people want is their time back, Bill.
Yeah.
They really want their time back. So a little disclaimer here. I'm going to talk about some financial concepts today. I'm going to talk about some legal concepts today. I'm not an accountant or I'm not an attorney. I paid millions of dollars in fees to those guys, so I think I'm okay. But no, this is just for educational purposes. So,
Now, real quick, before you go in, I just want to say this is live. And if
yeah.
you're watching this live on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, we're streaming into that. And you have questions, I want you to feel free to put them in. I'm monitoring the questions. I know I can get Eddie kind of wound up and he's going to go. I'll stop him. If you guys have a question you want answered, put it in there. If you have suggestions or other comments as well, we'll catch them as time as well. Okay, so go ahead, Eddie.
So let's talk a little bit about what people are sort of saying, let's call it maybe even outside of this audience. Like how are people feeling, right? And the answer is, Forbes wrote about this, it's multiple jobs. And really it's, I don't know. I went shopping with my wife on Sunday, and Bill, and I gotta tell you something. What used to be $28 is now $88. Right. And so people are like, people want their time back. And the reason they're working multiple jobs is because what we're experiencing in the market. The saddest part about that is it is affecting what people can put towards their retirement. It is affecting what people can put towards their wealth. So a discovery that we found was this: completing note deals faster while using less of your own time is the key to seizing opportunities in down markets and building wealth quickly.
I think you froze up.
Rental properties and their taxes and their insurance and their mortgage rates. So I'm very aware of this, and this is why the timeliness of this market is so important. Warren Buffett said, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. Right. And so I think that's why ideas like this and strategies like this are game changers. So what's new, right? What's new and what people tell me all the time is they say, Eddie, we want to do this. We're fired up. We like the idea of being the bank and owning a note. You can collect payments and interest on a note, just like the bank, right? People say, I love this idea. But what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong, Eddie, that it's not working? And the answer is, what they're saying is, I'm giving it all I got. I just am so busy. I don't have it. I don't have anything else to give. And we're listening to our students trying to figure this out. In fact, we ran a test. We call it the Done For You test. Now, Bill, this is our highest end Note School members, right? And this was an event that we had with them last year. And we basically went through a whole process with them, trying to understand what we could help them with. We asked them a lot of questions. And what they said was, Eddie, we're so busy. And when we start, we don't have a lot of confidence. We don't know, like we don't have 200,000 hours of due diligence experience like your team does. And so we said, okay, what if we could figure out a way to help you? Now, literally, this is a kind of a blurry picture, and I apologize for that, but it's a real picture of actually how many people stood up and said they want us to help them. 81% said this is our highest end people. And so what we said was, what can we offer to you? Now, yes, I've been doing this since 1980. I've legitimately bought 50,000 notes. Our team has bought over $3 billion in discounted notes. So whether it's me or Bob Repass, who's, used to run the seller finance division for the associates and for Bayview, my wife, Martha, who's considered like the ninja of using notes and self-directed retirements, Susan De La Garza, she's been with me 30 years. Charles Mangan is a ninja in the asset management space. We said, pretty seasoned folks. And we said, what if we could help you? And our method really could help people complete deals faster. It could help a breakthrough. So much of a breakthrough in business is not just, systems and process. It's mental. Absolutely. What is it like to help somebody get their first deal closed or their first deals closed? And so we realized that's because Bill, the truth of the matter is a lot of people have kind of the naysayers on the side. They love you, but because they don't know how it works, it can't work in their mind. And
90% of it's mindset. In my experience, when people don't get started, and I go to an event every month here in LA, the associate with what you're going to be coming out for. And I see the same people come month after month for years, and they're still in their head. It's the same.
They have a limiting belief.
Yes.
And so then once they have the proof of cash flow, not only does it free them, but it frees the naysayers around them. And that's important. Like our families that think this won't work, they don't think it won't work because they don't love us. They think it won't work because they've never seen differently. Right. And so that's what we figured out was a big deal. So a person might say, if you're new to notes, welcome. A person might say, why notes? Why would I learn notes? And so the first thing I would say to you is you can create true monthly cash flow. I read a post in a Facebook page this morning that somebody was confused about whether a rental property should cash flow or not. Okay, well, I don't know what to say about that. You can buy notes and they will cash flow. That is a certifiable fact, right?
You can buy properties that don't cash flow, but you can't buy properties for cash flow for long.
Exactly.
In my career, that never really works out in the long run.
Yeah. The note strategy is probably the best retirement fund strategy I've ever seen. I'm going to give you an example of that here in a minute. Okay. And then the next thing is you can build legacy and wealth. And I'm going to tell you something. When somebody goes down the road with us, most people say they want to have legacy for their family, but they think they have to start out with a fortune to have legacy. This is a strategy where you can build legacy for yourself and your family, but not start out with a fortune. Now, I'm not seeking somebody that has nothing, no time, no money. That's not my guy. Okay. So if you're on here today, you stay on here with me. I'll teach you all I know to teach you, but I'm going to say to you, you got to bring something to the table, right? You know,
well, I call it's a return on investment.
Yeah.
It's not a return on wishes or desires or hopes.
Yeah.
We can invest money, we can invest time, but you have to invest something.
You do. And when I started, I was 20 years old, and all I could flat bring was energy. I had nothing else to bring.
Yeah.
So here is a spreadsheet of 40 deals that we bought. Now, we buy portfolios of notes all the time, right? We have about $10 million in due diligence on any given day in my shop. But here was 40 notes. These were small balance notes. And I picked these for an example for your audience, just to give them a sense of a little bitty deal and what you might do. We sold 34 of these notes directly to our students, and we kept about 6 of them for ourselves. Now that we may keep them a little bit, and we may sell some more to our students. This is our due diligence team. You see Bob on the right. Bob used to be the managing director for a company called Bayview. They bought $400 million in seller finance notes a year. And he's been with me about 10 years, and he runs this piece, right? And this is just our team, and they're doing what they do every day, which is due diligence and acquisitions of notes. This is our space, right? Let's take an asset that we bought, right? This is our little entity, Dexter. And it's a little bitty note. It's not a fancy note. I mean, this note was less than $9,000 was the current unpaid balance. Okay. And it's a little bitty payment. So the payment on this deal is on $132 a month. You can't retire on this deal. Okay. But it shows you an example of how you can put $9,000 to work and get a result. Now, the average note that we buy is bigger than $9,000. Okay. But the example is, of what's possible even with a little deal. By the way, this is a first mortgage on this house. So the house is not worth $9,000. Now, it's not in LA. It's in some little town in Indiana, and it's worth about $60,000. Right? Does it look terrible? Does it look unsafe? By the way, they've been paying on their mortgage for about 20-something years. It's just an old mortgage, right?
Beautiful.
And so this is a real deal on this asset, and it just sort of shows people what you could do with a little bit of money, right? That's a way to go take a little bit of money and go do something with it. Now, 17 of the 40 notes were under 25,000. Now, once again, this was an example of a small balance portfolio. By the way, you see the first payment due column right there? Mm-hmm. You see how seasoned these notes were? Mm-hmm. I mean, these notes literally average was about 18 or, 19 years that they had been paying on. Now,
that's the sweet spot. They're going to pay off.
They're not going to default.
No way.
And 31 of these notes was under 50,000.
Wow.
Now, once again, that doesn't mean all notes are that small, but that just, we don't know what we don't know until we learn it. And then all of a sudden, Bill, we see something different, right? Right. So, in so much as that we need every month to maintain our lifestyle, then you start backing into it. So, I'm going to challenge you. What's your burn number every month? And what's your what anchor money do you have coming in every month? And I'm not talking about earning commissions, right? Commissions come and go, right, Bill? I'm talking about like what's your mailbox look like that is coming in? Like what is it? What is going out every month? What is coming in every month? And that's one of the reasons that people do this, right? It's eliminating having to go do the second job. Right. It's eliminating the whatever because they know what's coming in. And for some people, they're not having to go work 2 jobs every month, but a lot of people are working harder than they were. Right. And sometimes they got gray hair, Bill, like you and I, and they're trying to figure out what the next thing is. Right. And their next thing is not working harder.
Well, even if you have enough money covering your expenses, that's only at a certain lifestyle. If you want more, you've got to add more into the pot to live off of. And so there are people, I mean, I'm one of them, where I don't have to work. I just have to work if I want a bigger lifestyle 10, 20 years from now, and I do. So I want to add to that pot to make it bigger. So everybody wants to trade their time for more money. You started that in the beginning. I think we all do that at some point to buy our time back.
The wealthiest people in the world want a compression of time.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter what you make.
Right.
Or it doesn't matter if you're not the wealthiest person in the world. It doesn't matter if you're just a guy trying to survive. We want a compression of time. I can tell you, Bill, that compared to owning rental property, I can own 1,000 notes for about the same time and labor factor that I can own 100 rentals. Now that I can tell you with 1,000% integrity. Right? So it's a pretty good get your time back investment strategy, right?
So just let me jump in real quick and do a couple housekeeping things. This is the LA County Real Estate Investors Association meeting. We get together every Tuesday at 3 o'clock to do this call. You can get the details at LAProbate.com. We meet monthly. We'll be meeting the second Thursday of the month, which next week will be a week from Thursday on September 7th in the Culver City area at the Iman Center, 3376 Motor Avenue. Starts at 6:30. It's a free event. And we have about 50 vendors to show up there and about 250 people total. And then we have a topic. This month's topic is going to be Cliff Gager, who I also interviewed, on how to do wholesaling property. Great way to make money. If you have no cash in the deal, here's a way you can make some money flipping some properties and getting started. And this guy does this and will help you. So that's a week from Thursday, September 14th, 6:30 to 9:30, and that's free. And then in October, we have our LA Grand Expo, and Eddie's coming to speak at that live, I believe, right, Eddie?
Yes.
And that's going to be October 21st, Saturday, same place, Iman Center. We have 12 national speakers. And if you're in the Lyric event, you've been getting some promos from the other speakers as well. And I'm interviewing a number of them. So Eddie's just one of the 12 people we're going to have for this event. It's free to attend. We charge people who do expo, who do the vendors and promote the event, but don't charge anything at all to people who show up for it. That's free. So love to have you participate in that. Okay, let's get back to Eddie's presentation. And okay, so now the next question is, we talked about the concept. How much do we have coming in? So we all should think that through. And the answer for everybody is not enough by a long shot, right?
Yeah, it's, I mean, and once again, one of the things that you're going to find out about notes is you can buy a note with cash flow, or you can also use a leveraging technique, Bill, and you can go then bring in another investor that can buy your payments today, but give you a super leveraging of income tomorrow, many times with no money invested. And I'm going to show you some concept of how that works.
Wow.
Right? So, the question is for people, every month, do you have a surplus or do you have a shortfall? Right? In other words, are you having to go chase every month because you have a shortfall? And if that's the case, what could you do about it? And so really the difference between those numbers is a really big deal. Robert Kiyosaki said the most important word in the world of money is cash flow. Now, actually, Robert, that's actually 2 words. Okay. I think we know what you're saying, though. And that cash flow is a really big deal. And so what's holding people back? And it's kind of what we've been talking about, and it is time. Time's what is holding people back. So people are looking for things, and that's why they asked Note School, said, can you give us a compression of time? Can you I've been doing this. I've closed 50,000 deals, right? I've closed 50,000 discounted note deals in my career. Now that's over a 43-year period. People say, like, what's the 10 things you've learned? Or what's the best 100 contacts you've got or whatever. Like people ask for like, okay, can you roll that up into a ball? And so we really took that to heart trying to figure that out. And, you know, nothing against flipping houses. Okay. But I will tell you this. This cute little couple from Laurel, Mississippi, I started in the note business about 30 miles from where they live in Hattiesburg. This cute little couple, I want to tell you something. They're working. Like this is work. And I would like to propose to you today, there's nothing wrong with this, but sometimes you can make money with a pencil that's far more valuable than making money with a hammer.
Well, some people like doing that stuff, and I think if you like doing it and you choose to do it to make money that way instead of others, that's called a hobby. Nothing wrong with it. If your hobby makes you some money, good for you. But it's a hobby, it's not a business, because
Exactly.
if you can make more money per hour with a pencil, to use your analogy, why would you not do that?
So people email us. This was literally this went to Bob Repass. This went in our office. And they're writing an email telling them why our Done For You program, they needed. And basically in the email, they sort of summarize it. Just a lot of stuff going on, right? I mean, and we can relate to that. Right. So 86% of the people make more than $100,000 a year have said, there's a study that just came out, 86% of the people said they make more than $100,000 a year, said they were living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. Right. And that's not what it should be. Mm-hmm. What we're trying to say is this market, this inflation, this situation, it's good for certain things and it's bad for certain things. Anytime you're reading articles or news feeds and you're hearing about the banking debacle, and it's real, right? It's very real. Well, when the banks are struggling, there's more of an increase bill in discounted notes. And I would say to you that probably 2.5 years ago, the note business, because banks were so flush and things were so good, the note buying business was probably about a 2. Right now, it's rocking between a 6.5 and a 7, and maybe headed for 8.5 as things go down this path where the banks are on. Because when banks are lending all the money, there's not much need for creative financing, and there's not much need for people to create notes or sell discounted notes. Right now, that is definitely the opposite. So we've seen a significant insurgence in notes. And, you know, with inflation, you know, people are struggling. You know, it's just, it takes more to live. And I know my wife and I are discussing it this weekend. This is a student. This is Josh. He lives down in the Houston area. He says, we're not suffering in any way, but it's clear that as night and day that, you know, the spending power of $10,000 a month, what it's turned into. Words, what Josh is telling us is, Josh's story was $10,000 a month is not got me. It's not got me flush. And so that's what people are saying and why that's the case. And the other thing is we're helping people with a seat at the table. Listen, Bob Repass, you know, has been with us about 10 years. He's bought mega millions of dollars in notes. And that's a little intimidating to some people. I can understand that. This literally was an email that came in talking about a $50 million trade of non-performing notes that people are asking us to be involved in. This is not like once in a month this happens. This is once a day or once a week. Let's call it, we got a seat at the table, right? So understand, when people are buying these notes, these aren't on unsafe neighborhoods. Some of these lower balance notes, this property was one of the properties in that portfolio that I mentioned. So this is the house, and it probably isn't in LA, quite honestly. But when a loan's been paying bill for, 18 years and it's with a servicer and, they owe 15 grand and the house is worth 60, would you be okay if that property's located in wherever, Indiana?
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, look, even the worst neighborhood in LA, when you see a low balance note left, a $50,000 remaining balance on a $500,000 property, and they've been paying on that for 20 years. One thing you know as a real estate agent is somebody's going to pay that note off. They're not going to let that property go to foreclosure.
yeah, I mean, but
Even
once
in LA,
again,
I mean,
these
if
are
you're
just
living in front of the house and there's gunshots going by you, somebody's going to make that payment on that mortgage. You don't have to be there anymore. There's people who go there for you. But I'm just saying, the worst, those low balance mortgages are going to get paid off because they can't afford to let it go.
yeah, and these are loans that have been paying every month. These are just working class people.
Yeah.
But you know, as the expression goes, there's roses in the flower bed, right? And so this is where these people live. And so our team says, okay, how could we lend you what it's taken so long for us to do? And so we started trying to figure out how to help our students do this. And so this is the first thing here is buying existing notes. So here's how this works. People say, what is a note? A note is a promise to pay. It has a principal amount. It has an interest rate. It has monthly payments. It has a term, an amortization term, and it's a mortgage note. So it's secured by a piece of property, right? And what it produces every month is long-term payback. So up here, you can kind of see a picture of this property. But once again, we're the bank. But we're getting mailbox money. We own their mortgage. We don't own a rental. We own their mortgage. And you see your mailbox getting bigger. And by the way, when you own a note, you don't pay their taxes and insurance. You don't pay their maintenance. When the water is leaking, you don't call your lender, right? And so we show people how to go do this. And what happens is you do work one time, but you get paid way out in the future. People like that. You know, if it's a compression of time, it's nice to do something, particularly when we help them, and they get paid a long time. This is my family. I know I'm married over my head. My wife and I, by the way, celebrate our 41st wedding anniversary here about a month ago.
Congratulations.
And so these are our kids and our grandkids and all that good stuff. And my wife, our why is legacy. Now, legacy can be lending them good behavior, lending them good thoughts, lending them spiritual. There's lots of things in legacy, but we want to talk about a moment of how my wife and I have been able to lend to our kids being a deal architect. So this is a subject property. This is in Texas. It's not in LA, but it's about a $240,000 house, about $20,000 equity, and about 80% debt. So the terms of this mortgage are $200,000 at 6%, $1,000 a month for 20 years. Okay. So this is my wife, Martha, and Martha has really become amongst the self-directed IRA companies. Most of them know Martha because she has perfected a technique with self-directed retirement accounts. So she finds a note, right? She buys a note at a discount, and this note has a long cash flow, call it 20 years. Martha buys this note at a discount. She doesn't pay the full amount. She buys it for $140,000. And that's a true market scenario at the moment. That isn't like some hokey pokey deal. You could never do this. So that's what the note cost. And then Martha buys this note. And think about it, she paid $140,000, but the house is worth $240,000. This is a pretty big cushion. As you were talking about, Bill, the deal goes bad. Although it's paying every month, the deal goes bad. The odds of losing your position is way different than if you have a property and you pay, you clunk out all the cash to go pay what it's worth. If it goes down in value, you can lose money. Right. But this shows you the safety of why people like notes. Right. So the second thing is we teach a leveraging technique. And here's how this works. We buy a long-term note, right? And we do it in a self-directed retirement account, but you don't have to do it in that. You could do it in your own business. And then we turn around and sell a cash flow of this note. We just sell the first part of the note, the first payments. right? Now, this scenario looks like you sell about the first half. So you sell the first half of this note. And when you do that, with that leveraging technique, then all of a sudden you can sell the first half of this note in this story, about 12 years of the 20 years, for $139,000. Now you paid $140,000.
Wow.
And you sold it for $139,000. Now Martha, my wife, says, okay, for $1,000 invested, we can own the back 8 years of that note.
Wow.
You see, we can build legacy with using strategies like this without having to start out with a fortune, except a fortune of creativity.
Wow.
And so,
how many times can you do that? I could do that a lot.
Well, you know, in various accounts, my wife has done this 50 times in 1 year.
Whew.
And so this is a passive investor. It's the guy that
I hope you take care of her.
trust me, I know this.
Look at the way you do. If I were you, I'd hang on for grim life. I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, trust me, I get this, right?
Okay.
But it's her dad taught me the business. This investor that bought the front end, he's getting a 7% return. Right. And people say, well, what's Martha's return? She only had $1,000 and she gets 8 years worth of payments. That's what it is, Bill. It's very high. That's the return. The best deal is when you don't need a calculator, right?
Yeah. It's almost infinite in a sense.
So here's the scenario. Martha buys a note from a note seller, the same kind of note seller we help our students with. And what does she get? Martha buys a cash flow of payments, right? On the same kind of property, the same kind of story. And then Martha finds a passive investor, and then she sells off the first so many payments of this note. And he pays her $139,000. Now she has $1,000 out of her retirement account, and she gets this cash flow or that investment. That's called a partial. That's a pretty slick technique. I've done this literally over 20,000 times. So we've been fairly known for this. This is what as we said, we call it being a deal architect, right? And and so once again, then people say, okay, well, what about this and whatever. So what we figured out is when they come to school with us, we start building things for them to help them do things so that they can do what Martha's doing. Like, how could we help you find some notes? How could we help you do this? How could we help you evaluate? Like, there's lots of things that we figured out that we had a high expertise in, and we called it done for you, right? We still want them to go to school with us. We're not going to teach somebody that's not going to go to school with us because we're just teaching them to understand the punchline faster, right? And giving them some tools to go do that. So that's Martha. She loves being grandma, trust me. But her and I had lunch today, and she's working on a couple of retirement deals, and you know, she likes hanging out and being grandma, though. Let me tell you that. So that's a big part of her life. So the other side is buying non-performing notes. So I've done this in a lot of cycles. I started in the old RTC days of 86, and I've seen a lot of markets. And right now we have a lot of banks that have issues. You don't have to just believe me. Any 20 minutes in Google research, you're going to figure out that we're totally correct about this. Let me ask you a question, Bill. How many residential delinquent mortgages in the market like right now? Any clue?
Well, there's not that many, but there's, not that many of a large number is a big number. So I don't know.
You know who Black Knight is?
Yes. Like what percent of the mortgages or something?
Yeah. 1,920,000.
Okay.
That's the July number. 1,920,000. Wow. Now, mortgages are categorized into the level of delinquency. So you have the 1-day delinquent to call it 120-day delinquent. Okay. These are days. And then you have the 120 days plus. And a guy that lives right out there south of you, Darren Bloomquist, is my buddy. He's the data guy for auction.com. Loans that fall in the 120-day plus delinquent, the average delinquency is 600 days plus.
Oof.
So when people think there's no foreclosures coming, I just say that they just don't know the data. The data is what the data is. This was the data starting in 2005. Let me ask you a question. When you look at the default factor, could you see that there was a problem brewing?
Yeah. How
many people in 2005 or 2006 thought there was a problem brewing?
There were people pointing it out.
Yeah, I mean, I know Bruce Norris and all. I mean, but
I knew Bruce Norris, and I was in the business, so I saw it happening every day. I saw these loans being done. Who is doing these loans is crazy, and
exactly
refinancing bad loans into worse loans, and but I know it can't continue at some point.
I look at data as just a weather report.
Yeah.
Right. Now, by the way, here's Black Knight. By the way, I apologize. This was the chart for June. It went up to 1,920,000 in July. So I apologize. I didn't update my slide, but I promise you that's what it says. This is Black Knight's report of delinquent mortgages. I'm not manufacturing a number. All you got to do is Google it. Right. I fully understand most people don't know this, but I'm just giving you the weather report. Right. I'm just showing you the weather charts. Right. Now, what I did is I took this chart and I did this to show a trend. 2005 and 6, most people, not you, Bill, most people thought there was not even a stop sign. Right. And then all of a sudden we hit this market and we're like, oh my God. The real reality is the biggest problem happened, though, after the fact. And the biggest problem happened after 2008. Yes. And it even continued for a period of time. In fact, this is April of 2020. And all of a sudden, guess what happened? Well, guess what? I guess all the people that were delinquent on their mortgage just went away.
It was like magic pixie dust the government threw out, and all those problems disappeared.
So that amount right there moved forward. And those were called legacy loans, plus 2 million mortgages, thereabouts, that are currently delinquent today. And these loans are post-COVID hangover loans. They've been delinquent. This all started about in here, and it's been brewing. This is why when you read the headlines, you start realizing there's so many foreclosures compared to the ones in the past, but you hear it doubling or hear it tripling or whatever. And so understand, this is, Bill, this is an old term from the past, right? Yep. There is a shadow inventory of defaulted loans.
Yep.
Right. And we're showing you like where this is at. We're not just saying it. We're showing you data charts from, Black Knight and a lot of these sources. And so now all of a sudden you see this on a regular basis. This was in Bigger Pockets. So I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, foreclosures up 185%. This is an interesting story. This is a mortgage servicing right. That's what MSR stands for. Now, this was in a Mortgage Banker magazine. Bill, this was a $3.1 billion trade. You know who Jenny Mae is?
Yeah.
That's FHA.
FHA loans and VA loans.
That's FHA.
Yeah.
This was a trade of a $3 billion portfolio, and I want to show you something.
Whew.
11% of FHA loans today are delinquent.
Those numbers are staggering, and the interest rate's only 3.9%.
Yeah,
you're not getting much on those.
Yeah.
At that
these were loans that were originated. A mortgage servicer that originated the loans is now selling the servicing rights. But along with that, you're going to absorb 11 million loans that aren't making a payment. This is not going to trade at par. Okay. Now you're not. Now let me make sure you understand this. You're not buying the loans. You're buying the right to service the loans. The point that we're making here, and this part of the story, is I'm just showing you market delinquency.
Yeah.
And I mean, trust me, you can Google this. It's FHA loans are 11% of them are not paying today. Right. So understand what I'm showing you is there is an onslaught of delinquent loans that are coming down the mountain. Now, what happens to these loans? The banks don't foreclose. The banks are packaging these loans up, they box them up, and they go sell them to Wall Street. They go sell them to what we refer to as the hedge funds, right? Now, every time a hedge fund buys a big trade like this, some of them are as big as 100 million. They're going to find loans that don't fit their criteria. They can't put them into a security. There's all kind of reasons that that's true. And they box up some percentage of those loans. And my company is called Colonial Capital Management. And they turn around and they sell them to people like us. That's how the inventory makes it to us. The banks are selling gigantic portfolios and they're selling them to the hedge funds, and the hedge funds are never going to keep 100% of the box they buy. Now that because they sell them, that's not bad. Sometimes, Bill, it's so funny as to why you see a loan. Oh, this loan got kicked out because they can't put it in a mortgage-backed security because it doesn't have a closing statement when the property sold 16 years ago.
Right.
Boom, throw it out.
Right.
Like it's that kind of thing.
Right.
So I want to talk about like what a typical deal looks like today. Now, I fully understand I'm talking to people that live in LA. Okay. But you might, this would apply in Ohio and it'll apply in Orange County, right? This is the typical loan ratio. The property value is 250. Their legal balance, including accrued interest, including taxes the lender has paid, including insurance, including legal fees, their legal balance to pay off the loan is 175. And our typical deal is we're buying that loan at about 130. Now, if you're looking at risk, first of all, you're looking at this going, this is discount. The difference between what we pay for it and what they owe is discount. And if you're looking at the customer situation, as you described earlier, Bill, this is equity. So ironically, what's happening today is we're buying delinquent notes, and I bought delinquent notes since the 80s in various cycles. This loan's going to get paid off. You may end up with some loans that obviously you end up with a property, but we're buying loans where we're investing 130 and the property's worth 250. What's the risk factor of me like something really going badly?
Well, and the question you're asking is not, will you sell it for 175? Because anything above that, the lender's paid in full. But even only sold for 155, that could be like the best thing ever happened to you because you're going to make a $25,000 premium and you've only collected for a short period of time. And so that's why that discount is so important. You hope they pay off early through foreclosure if you can get paid.
Our analytics today, Bill, look like this.
Wow.
This is not 2008. I've lived in a lot of cycles and a lot of markets, and I can talk about the 80s and the RTC and the this and the. This is 2003 delinquent mortgage inventory. Now, this is different than performing notes. See, we've talked about performing notes, and now we're talking about loans that aren't paying. So there's a variety of what people can do this with, right? So what happens is the lender virtually every time has already started the foreclosure process. As I said, the banks have these loans and they're eliminating. People say, why are they eliminating? Well, the biggest reason is called headline risk. And secondly, it's because they don't have the personnel to manage all these foreclosures. So you've got to go take it to foreclosure. Green is when you buy it. Now, all of a sudden, if you foreclose and you got to do REO management, if you end up with the property, remember, we're in a short cycle of inventory. Like it doesn't take long to sell a house. This isn't 2010.
Right.
And so all of these things, what used to be a thing, you don't have to deal with that anymore. That was in 2008. We had to go do all that, right? Well, today that's not a factor. It's not 2008. So once again, that's why the timing of this is different. This cycle right here is a 2023 cycle for non-performing notes. It's very different. By the way, I'm going to be in California at a delinquent note conference next week in Dana Point. Yes, sir. I mean, this is like, so don't think, oh, well, this is true in Texas or Ohio, but no. This is a distressed debt conference in California, right? All right. So let's talk about this. This is a customer. This is a guy. He invests notes. He does the partial strategy that we talked about Martha doing. He does all these things. This was a house up in his neck of the woods in Indiana, and it was worth $145,000. I know that's a really nice house for $145,000, but he doesn't live in a really expensive market. The total legal balance on this loan was about $85,000. Okay. He bought this note for $57,500. So what happened is the bank, once again, did not want to foreclose. This is a story you'll hear over and over and over. The lender had the loan, then they sell it to him for $57,500, and it was almost done with foreclosure. The loan at foreclosure got paid off. So that means he didn't have a house to sell because it sold to somebody else at foreclosure. And he makes almost $28,000. Now, this is a good case study. I don't want to act like every deal is quite this clean. But by the way, he is a note school student. We had a group where students put case studies together, and this was his case study, right? And so it's just he knew what he was looking for, and we taught him what to go do. And a lot of the things that we're now help them do with finding a loan and managing foreclosure, those are things that are part of our done for you thing now, right? Here's the reality, Bill. For most people, when you're describing what we do, there's the knowledge of doing it, the interest, hey, I like this, and there's the time it takes to do it. Normally, people say, oh, I'm over the top. I'm interested. That's normally what people say. If it's not, if it doesn't fit you, that's okay. But a lot of people like it. And then there's kind of a minimum standard. What Note School has figured out is there's a shortage in the knowledge to do it and the time to go do it. And that's what Note School helps people fill the gap with, right? So, by the way, the second thing that Robert Kiyosaki said, first thing was most important in the world of money was cash flow. And the second thing was leverage. And people say, I want to leverage. Now, that's a young man that he and his family, they live in Oakdale. That would be Oakdale, California. Okay. So, yes, this works in California. There's Seth and his beautiful family. And Seth says two things. The note space changed two things about him. It doubled his cash flow, and he had a bunch of rentals when he started. And it's added $2 million to his bottom line net worth. And he started with me in, I believe, 2018. Wow. So that's Seth's story, right? And he's a young, smart guy and all that good stuff. And this other lady, Emily, and like Emily just started with me. She's a Keller Williams person. I know you're not Keller Williams, but she's in a Keller Williams network, KW Wealth. And they've got killer case studies of what that looks like and how that works. And by the way, they were in the multifamily business. The bottom line is they've bought almost $300,000 worth of notes, and they're just saying it's worked. Her and her husband, Adam, right? So I want to talk about kind of next steps. Okay. Now, I apologize. I did not update this. This class is actually tomorrow. Now, this is Central Time. There is a master class tomorrow, and I'm going to give the people the code for it. If that's too quick, we've got an insurgence of students right now, and so we've got one in a couple of weeks. If you'll just go to it, if you can't make the one tomorrow, don't miss the other one. I don't intentionally miss, but let's talk about, if you come to a master class, what would you know by the end of the class? What could you learn? What real estate markets, what to do when markets decline quickly. Some markets are not good. I'm not saying residential is in for a train wreck. What the problem with residential real estate right now is it's got a cash flow problem because of expenses and because of rates, right? A lot of commercial real estate, not so good, right? So people are having to reinvent themselves. Secondly, what note investing path would benefit you most? And then the last thing is, what important steps would you take this year that can grow your net worth? Like, what could you do? And we're going to leave you there. If you've liked what we've done today, I think you'll like what we do in our master class. When you come to master class, I'm going to give you a lot of materials. I want you to leave there with more than just words. So this is these are partials. These are process maps for partials, how to buy them, how to sell them. So these are things that are going to apply exactly to same things that we're going to talk about. You know, I've been asked, like, Eddie, what's the most 100 common questions you've ever been asked? Actually, this new book answered in there, right? So it's a Q&A book. Next thing is the partial. We're going to show you, like, this is sell the partial, and Bill, this could be the investor, the note investor that bought the whole note, right? And we're going to give you a Excel tool that you actually can take examples and go figure out what that could look like for you.
Love that.
Another thing is, people ask about tax advantage accounts, and this is going to say, like, how this can really be a game changer for you. I'm going to give you send you to a website. I'm going to give you a form. Let's talk about 1 second about expectations. In the last almost 50 minutes, I've given you my undivided attention. You have given me your attention if you're at this point. When you come to this master class, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to give you my undivided attention. If this means something, give me yours. If you're trying to multitask, I'm just being fair and honest with you, you're going to miss it. Am I right, Bill? You're going to miss it.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's some people out there that are worried. This does not have to be you. The people that are worried usually don't know what to do. The people that are not worried are operating with a strategy and a clarity of what they can do. Right. We'd like to help you with that, right? So there's kind of 3 things, to do it. First of all, you can do nothing. You can stay where you are and no, we're okay with that. You can go figure it out on your own. It only took me about 43 years to get to this point, right? Or the next thing could be, you could come hang out with us and let's figure out how maybe we could help you, right? Here's a registration form. By the way, whatever this is, tomorrow is the 30th, I guess, right? And that is when this class is. And Bill, how they're going to do this is they're going to go to noteschool.com, and I'm going to give them a thing. I want them to know. I want to know that they're from you, Bill. I know you're not asking. Like, I just want to know.
I'm not going to opinion on this. This is. I wanted to learn. I wanted to hear you. You and I met, and I think it's great. So thank you. It's very nice of you.
So this is the link and how you register for the school. And when I was 20 years old, my father-in-law said something to me. He says, you can make a lot more money with a pencil than you can a hammer. Now, being a young guy, and I kind of grew up around a construction family and stuff, I couldn't relate to what he meant. My father-in-law taught me this business starting at 20 years old. And the other thing he taught me was, he said, learning how to structure deals is what the wealthiest people know how to do. And so we've used some very small transactions today on purpose. We've used some very small examples today, all because I wanted to show people when you get started, you don't have to talk in terms of mega $1 million deals. Oh, I have students that do mega $1 million deals, right? But you don't have to start there. I didn't start there when I started, and somebody can, we want to help somebody from wherever they want to start from. I will say this, Bill, every cycle, this is my 6th real estate cycle. Every cycle I've ever been in this business, when there is confusion, some distress, some things that are different than they were in the past, whenever that happens and whenever banks are struggling, right? This has always been good for my business. I know where we were in the note trading business a couple of years ago, and I know where we're at in the business today, and I'm looking at the runway ahead of us. I'm going to say very confidently, we've entered a very good cycle for discounted notes.
I think so. Because people have the big bulk notes are going to be short capital and need to unload them at a discount and quick and efficiently. And you're there to help that transaction.
And that's what we're seeing. You know, all these banks that modified loans, they really didn't sell the loans because they're paying again, right? They're called RPLs, reperforming loans. Now all of a sudden they're trying to clean their balance sheet up, Bill, and guess what they're doing?
Selling them.
You got it.
Well, I want to say a couple of things if I can add on. First, I'm not getting a nickel out of this.
That's true.
Number 2, I signed up. I plan to be there tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I had a gap in my schedule, and it works out, and look forward to being on that because, number 3, there's never been a better time to make money in real estate than right now. When you said it a little differently than I would say in times of transition, the ones who move quickly with a plan excel while other people try to figure out where they're at. I would add another thing, which is you talked about grandmother and your wife and this is our latest grandson. I saw your grandkids, felt a little jealous. This little guy is 2 weeks old now, and that's my wife. My wife was battling cancer last 1.5 years. She was cancer free 2 months ago.
Awesome.
In the same hospital. 2 months later, she's holding our second grandchild. So I'm going to have to brag a little bit on her and on Benny, our newest grandson. And for those of you watching, you can put comments in live, but we're kind of at the end of the show now. I would say we'll try to answer them after the question. But I signed up. I plan to be there tomorrow. I'm not getting any income. I'm not getting paid because I know this business enough. I've watched it over the years. It fits with what I'm doing well. In terms of building some cash flow while I'm working every day on deals. So I want to urge you guys to join in. Okay,
yeah, I'll shut this down so we can talk a little bit. I'll circle it just to make sure everybody saw it. I just wrote it. It's not fancy. I did that on purpose. Noteschool.com/gross, right?
Thank you.
And that's how you go register for it.
Right.
And yeah.
So what is it now? You've been around this a long time, like I have been.
Yes.
What is it that you see that holds people back? Because I go to these conferences, I'm making really good money, and I have some good cash flow. I need more. I mean, I have a new grandkid. I need more now than I had before. So it's more of playing the game. But, I have people come back every month and I say, yeah, the note school guy's over, the tax sale guy's over there. I don't recommend to start in real estate. It's a tough business to get into, but unless you're so inclined to be a salesman, I love the idea of notes. What holds people back from starting?
Fear.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and Bill, I've been teaching a long time. I've been in the note space a long time, but I've had note school for over 20 years. So I'm not a newbie at teaching. And you and I know, since you and I met, I found out you and I have some common people that I know in the space. Yeah. And I get to, because we're mega seasoned, I get to teach people like you because not that we know more about real estate than you, but we're specialists. Right. Yes. And particularly because of the helping them, like I can help fast forward people because we know inventory, we're connected, we know how to do the due diligence. There's a lot of things we can do. We took a really hard look at ourselves about 1.5 years ago after teaching for over 20 years. And we said, what do our students need? And the thing that we figured out more than any other single thing was they needed a leg up to get those first deals done. And it's the same thing. And I know not everybody that teaches is quite in the position to do this. But when you're talking about what holds people back and it's this and that, it just is what it is. I mean, it's people need, we learn this. We can't help people if they don't know anything. So we can eliminate any education that's not reasonable. But with some education, all of a sudden we start giving them compression of time, and people I'm be honest with you, Bill, how many people our age would not want to do what Martha's doing with these partials, in all fairness?
Everybody would like to do it.
Of course they would.
Everybody would.
I want to. I know
I want to meet Martha. I'm trying to talk to you, Eddie. I want to meet Martha. What am I doing with you?
Well, the truth
is it an extra price to get into her class? Because
she
seems a lot more pleasant.
You know what? Martha's a grandma that does this on a part-time basis. I run a shop. I've got a pretty big shop, and we do this business and run note school and stuff. Martha just sits over there and picks off notes.
Nice.
And so she doesn't have to go work at it full time. She helps us a little bit in the school, but the truth of the matter is we just teach what Martha's modeled.
I've been around like you a long time. I've seen a lot of people come, a lot go, a lot of coaches and systems come and go. And what I've noticed is people who transform their lives, develop income or wealth, or people who offer that opportunity have three things you have to have, three ingredients. One is you have to have a leader or a coach or a teacher. I think that'd be you and or Martha. The second is you have to have a clear process system that you can show them what to do and they got to do it. You have to execute that. I have a business plan I execute every day. And the third thing is you have to have a community of people to help you because you can't do this on your own. You can have the webinar and teach people, but without other people next to you struggling, working through these problems, most of us as human beings aren't going to get through. That's, I think, designed on purpose that we should work together and help each other. So, like I said, I saw your school. I know you're coming to speak here in LA at the Grand Expo, which is great, but I couldn't wait, so I reached out to interview you. And I appreciate the chance. I am going to be tomorrow at the noteschool.com/GROSS. If you're going to register, come in, say hi. But I'm not there to make friends. I'm not there to sell you anything. I'm there because I want to participate. I've got extra cash. I'm making really good money. And I want more of it to work for me. And frankly, I've done some investing in real estate and done real well with some and not so well with others. But it takes a lot of time to find property. And I bought multifamily. It takes a lot of due diligence. That it's harder for me to do now. So I'm looking forward to learning and playing with you guys as well tomorrow. So, okay, I don't see any questions in the chat box. If you get questions after the fact, I'll reach them. I'll forward them to Eddie, and we'll get back to you. Or join us tomorrow and bring your questions there. I'm sure he'll be able to answer them.
We will answer a lot of questions tomorrow.
And then just a reminder, this is the LA County Real Estate Investor Association official podcast. We do this every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We live stream it on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. This is part of the Realtors Vendor we do every month. The second of the month will be a week from Thursday on September 7th. It's a free event, 6:30 at the Iman Center on Motor Avenue between Palms and National. And we have a guest speaker, Cliff Gager, every month. We get about 250 students and about 50 vendors or professionals like me to help you with your business. Look forward to seeing you there. And then lastly, the LA Grand Expo is on Saturday, October 21st. I can't be there. I have a commitment that day, but I know that Eddie will be there. We have about 12 other great national speakers like Eddie who are going to present different ways you can build your business, increase your income, and make more wealth. Eddie, on behalf of everybody on the call today, I just want to thank you so much for your time again. Look forward to seeing you and or hopefully Martha tomorrow.
Yes, I'll be there.
Thanks so much.
All right, my friend.